Hi everyone. This is going to be a big picture recording. We're going to be talking about decades. But at the same time, I would love it if you took that information and brought it into exactly what's happening now, what you've been through in the past, and to get some clarity and understanding about that, some clarity and understanding of why things are happening now, and then a sense of what we are becoming and what is happening on a global level. But at the same time, make it relevant to your life. Now that's a fairly tricky thing to do, really big picture, and at the same time, make it relevant to you. And so what I'm going to be doing is going to the bottom line. And I've always knew since I started working with numbers after all the science training I had, and I came across numbers and numerology. Over the 35 years since then, actually 45 years, one thing I've realized is numbers are great to get to the bottom line. You know, in accounting, in business, come on, just get to the bottom line. What are the numbers? And they also connect you to what are called archetypal energies, which are energies that we all deal with in our life and that we all possess within ourselves, that work on a very large scale but have a lot of meaning to us as individuals on a personal level. So I'm going to keep it really simple, look at the numbers, just show me the numbers, show me the facts, but look at it in terms of archetypically what's happening in the world, and then why these things are happening so that you can make it really personal in your life. And that'll mean you listening to what I'm saying and not just projecting onto it what you think, but allowing it to soak into you and bring up your own realizations. Things that really click for you, really make sense for you. Now, this happened when I was meditating this morning. And it was out of that where you get to a point of real fundamental. For instance, what's the most fun? If you had a choice between thinking and breathing, which would you take? Right? I've had an experience like that last year, where I literally had two, whatever they call them, seizures. People think it's epileptic, but it may be due to something else. We're looking into that at the moment. And both times I just switched off. First time for 41 minutes, second time for 60 minutes or more. And there's video of the second one. The first one was on Zoom, but the second one, I was looking at myself in the video afterwards, and there were a lot of people around me. At this time, it happened right in front of people. And it looked like I was dead. I definitely wasn't thinking. I had no dreams. It was a non-dream state. The Thai people around me, some of them said they'd seen my ghost walking in the car park. But there's one thing I wasn't thinking. But there was one thing that was crucial for the fact that I came back after an hour, that I was breathing. Breathing is fundamental. Thinking isn't necessary. We take a break from it, at least consciously, 8 hours a day, or whenever we have a rest. So thinking is important and as powerful and as creative and as such a gift that it is not fundamental. Breathing is. So I'm going to look at this year, the last couple of decades and the decades to come from that point of view. What is absolutely bottom line? So I'll start it off very simply. 2020. Now you can follow, I won't write this out for you, but you can follow this very simply. If you add 2 and 0 and 2 and 0 up, you get the number 4. So I'm looking at 2020 as 4, 2021 as 5, 2022 as 6, 2023 as 7, 2024 as 10, etc., all the way through till 2029, which is 13, which if you add the 1 and the 3 up is also a 4. So we begin with a 4, end with a 4, but it's a different type, a different level. It's a different archetypal energy. Now, just to put that in perspective so it's relevant to you now, when you have 4 as the bottom line, on an archetypal level, what you're looking for is true significance. And what tends to happen is the part of you that knows the least about your true significance, otherwise known as our ego, takes on, I'm threatened, takes on a negative form and tends to attack. And it tells you that you're just the same and nothing's changed. And the purpose of that is for you to, in a sense, challenge it in your own way, thanks for sharing or whatever, and then look at, have you really changed? Are things the same? Well, it's really obvious at the end of this year, the things aren't the same and probably won't ever will be as they were 12 months ago. This is October. In fact, it's only a couple of days before I had the second seizure last year. So I'm a very different person than I was 12 months ago. And I've grown so much because I've learned a lot of adult skills, but I've also discovered what's significant to me, what's significant within me and about me, and what's significant in my life. Yet in the process, as you've seen in the media, there's so many attacks going on. Well, I've experienced some of that very personally. And each one of us in our own way would have, even if you've had a great year. The energy's out there to challenge you and say, so what's significant about having a great year? Is it just that you made a ton of money or had a great this or succeeded in that? Yeah, but what's significant about that? Where does the significance really lie? Because that is going to be your foundation for the future. That's going to be where you tap into your power. So if you have this amazing year, but you don't gain the significance out of it, you don't carry anything really substantial and supportive with you. Now, a lot of the attacks that are going on in the media, in social media, personally or whatever, are all fundamentally, if you look at it from a victim's point of view, you're being persecuted. But if you look at it from a creator's point of view, someone who creates who's responsible for their life, they create their reality, then it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and the challenge is what is significant. And it's not something you're meant to, get it up here. It's an emotional thing. It's something you need to take your time and relate to it until it's so substantial and so undeniable that even when other people challenge you, you don't question it. Because it's part of you, like breathing. It's so there that in a sense, it's just part of who you are. And it keeps you alive. It's that significant. But you don't have to keep thinking about it, and, positive thinking. It's there and it's grounded and it's nurturing you and it's empowering you. Now, this is the beginning of a decade, the 2020s, that starts off with 4. So we're really being challenged to find out what is significant in the world today, in our lives, in our relationships, in being a human being. And it goes all the way through the years until 2029, which is the culmination of this decade, and that's 13. Now, 13 hasn't got a great reputation in some quarters, unlucky 13 or whatever. And when you look at the archetype, the archetype is the archetype of death. And so why am I smiling? Because there's such a beauty. It's such a sacred thing, death. And there's such a beauty in it. I know I've been very, very close as I am to this screen, to my mother when she took her last breath. And it's an unforgettably beautiful experience in my life. So what is it the death of? In other words, where are we heading by finding our significance, by using the attacks that are made on us either personally or you watch in the media on various people, trolling on the internet, the whole bizarre behaviour that's going on there. What's the purpose behind that is finding your significance so that during this decade and culminating at the end of this decade, we can die to the past, die to our limitations, not get rid of that past, not get rid of our limitations, because we're a human being in a human body, we are limited, but have the death of our past negativity, negative ego, our past insignificance, our limitations of seeing ourselves as insignificant unless we're a billionaire or unless we're really beautiful or young and whatever, all those things that we deal with, unless I succeed at this job, pass this exam, get this girl, marry this guy, you name it. Our fears, we're not going to get rid of fear, but get over the fears that constrict us and lessen our lives. Because there's a part of fear that protects us. It's been here for millions of years, billions of years. Our blockages, the things that hold us back or stop us moving forward. Our self-pities, based on our sense of insignificance, feeling sorry for yourself. Our self-importance, based on compensating for an inner sense of insecurity and insignificance. Our manipulations, well, unless I control everything or control myself, I'll never be seen as significant or ever achieve anything significant. It's letting go of our scarcity and limitation and the games that we have used to keep those things alive. Now, I've meditated for 45 years. I'd consider myself a positive, fairly enlightened, fairly conscious. My human design says that's what I'm all here about, consciousness type of person. But boy, have I seen my limitations. And I've had people attack me for limitations I don't even have. But looking within that, I've found why I even allowed that to happen. And not in the sense of being tough, but in the sense of being vulnerable, of allowing life to nurture and support me. And this is what you can do. Where is the grain of truth in what people are putting their finger on? Even if the vast 99.9% of it is rubbish, or maybe 30% of it is true. But that's where you take back your power and your responsibility and heal, which is one of the most liberating things and empowering things you can ever do. And it makes you stronger because it empowers you so much. So you're dying to the past negativities in order to live to the future. When you die, you leave the past behind. Actually, physically, you leave the whole damn thing behind. And then you live to a new reality, a new future. Maybe beyond time, it's not exactly seen as that, but in our world, we die many times during our lives. And that is letting go of the limitations and blockages of the past, and so that you can live a richer, more fulfilled, more grateful life. You can really appreciate the gift of life while you've got it. And you can be motivated by the image of what you are becoming. Now, this is really important, not the illusions of what we are becoming, not the dreams, the ideals. But the greatest possibility that you can imagine that truly resonates with you in your heart. Because that's what you're capable of becoming. And leave the door open for it to be greater than you can imagine. But you've got this image. So if you're focusing on everything that's wrong about other people, politicians, countries, systems, people you know, if you're focusing on that, that's the future you're creating. If you're focusing on what you could maybe contribute to making that better, or how you could resolve that with another person, or come up with a better system that actually works, or, be creative rather than a victim. Be creative. Find what you can bring to the table that will make that better. That image motivates you to live longer, be happier, contribute more, be more fulfilled, keep your feet on the ground, enjoy your cup of tea. Someone gave me some peppermint straight out of the garden. It's live a life that's filled with what's right, what's natural for you. And then use that rather than the fear of where you've messed up, or what you have been, or what people have done to you or with you. Death is a glorious completion. That's why my mother's passing was so powerful. Death is a glorious completion. And I can speak from first-hand experience that is true. So death is ultimately about creating a relationship with the future that's truly based on love. It's loving. Now, that's pretty powerful stuff to consider, because death is one of the inevitables. It comes with life. For us being in a human body, we're given life and then we go. So it's one of the two most significant things that happen. Significant. And then the third most significant thing is discovering what's significant about you and you being here, and bringing that significance to fruition and letting it empower you. And yet it's often in the craziest times that we're forced, is not necessarily the right word, because you don't have to be forced to do this. But some of us need a bit of poking and prodding to actually get out of our comfort zone and find out what's real about us. And I've had that happen, it got triggered last year, but all the results of it, all the discovering of significance happened during this year. I've had 3 friends who've gone through car accidents, all 3 of them, including my wife, could have died. One of them, it's a complete miracle that anyone even got out of the car. And all of them have said they don't take life for granted anymore. And funnily enough, they're enjoying life and they're more in their power than they were before. It's been a significant hike. Same thing about my seizures. Now, let's have a look at the bigger context of that. So this decade is about finding our significance, leading to the end of the decade, dying to the past. And with other things I do, which I won't go into now because it's too detailed. The one thing is I was one of the original alternative people in Australia, way back in the 60s and 70s. And a lot of what we sung about, talked about, dreamed about, tripped about, we're getting ready for that to actually be realised, not as an ideal, but as a reality. And it's taking the rest of this decade to really be in the place where we can accept that. Because the next decade starts with 2030, which is a 5, and ends out in 2039, which is a 14. Now, 5 is a period of time where you find your true greatness, but also the ego, the part that does want to hang on to the past or doesn't want, it's scared of your greatness or doesn't really believe that you could be truly great, like some of the people you look up to. You know, the part of you that lacks confidence, like 2020 affects the part of us that lacks a sense of emotional security. But this is about the following decades, about the confidence, leading 14 to real empowerment, loving and valuing yourself, really having the power to love and value yourself so that you can create and manifest and change whatever you like in your reality. Now, we've been doing seminars on it for decades, we've been talking about it, we've been doing this, but the following decade, the 2030s, the rubber's going to hit the road. You know, you either get it or you're going to be left behind because everybody's moving in that direction. Well, now it's about, are you willing to let go of the past way of doing politics, the past way of relating, the past way of taking care of yourself and protecting yourself, of developing a foundation in your life so that you're secure and grounded? Well, then, once we've got something significant to base our lives on, the next decade's about finding and really expressing our greatness in an empowered way. Now, that's a bit far off, but what I'm throwing out there is a hook on the future that you can use to pull yourself through this decade. Move towards, discover more about what's great about you, but base it on what really shows up significantly as supporting and empowering you. Die to your limitations or the things that are now blockages or your scarcity if that's holding you back, so that you can step into your power and take responsibility for your reality. there's going to come a time for you live into the 2030s where knowing your power is going to be very significant. But if you don't believe that you're significant, your power will come and it'll say, oh, no, that's not for me. Now, where did we come from? 2010. Okay, 3. This was a year of profound external change. A lot of things changed. I mean, you could follow politics through, 2010, 2016, oh my God, and all that. There were really big changes. And I can go through each of the years, and I'm not going to do it here because it would just take up a lot of time. If you are interested, let me know and I'll go further. You can go through each of the years and see what's going on there. It's like, wow, why did 2016 go the way it went? And I'm not just talking politically, on many, many levels. What changed in 2010? Well, my life did massively. 2014 did it again. 2013 I did some really profound, some of the most profound stuff. Why? Because there's this dynamic energy available that when you tap into it, and it's not just the astrology, it's not just numbers, it's not just human design, it's like the bottom line of the powers at work, whether they're scientific, physical, chemical, esoteric, doesn't matter. It's just life is alive and doing its thing. And the best way to have a great life is to get in sync with life. It's like dancing. It's like music. You get in sync and you go with it. It's not about predicting your future, putting you in a box. It's about synchronize. It's like selling in the market. Find out what the customers need and what they're looking for, provide it. And guess what? Things will start flowing. Cash flow, business flow, new relationships, new people, new possibilities, a whole new life. So 2010 to 2019, okay, from 3 to 12, the end of 2019, the game for 2010 to 2019 was creating external change, and the end game being profound change, otherwise known as metamorphosis. The whole decade was, are you able to go inward to your own essence, leave your limitations behind, break free, and emerge in a new form, just like a grub becomes a butterfly. And what is it about a butterfly? That they're delicate? No, they're pretty. No, where the grub could only do so much, a butterfly can stretch its wings. It can soar. It can fly. It can seek nectar. It can seek new things. It can move in ways that the grub never could. But it didn't reject the grub. It emerged from that with the gratitude, but it went through a meltdown. Now, that's what last year was about. I'm just having examples pop up, but you can find your own, all right? And then this year, it's like, hey, you've got to find something significant, but I haven't melted down yet. I haven't melted it's like refining gold. You've got to take the rocks and break it all apart and then melt it down and then cast it into blocks or jewelry or whatever and get rid of all the impurities and find the gold. Actually, in the case of 4, it's really finding the silver. But that's a whole other story in itself. Because if you've got a lot of silver, one, you're covered financially, and two, you can buy gold as well, but they both have different qualities to them. That's why we use silver for coins, because they're so significant in terms of trading and bartering. So 2000 was about internal change to 2009, which was the ability to manifest. It's where we had a lot of the manifestation seminars. You know, the ability to create your own reality, you know, to start to tap into powers that are greater than you. Your subconscious, your unconscious, your higher self, the divine, however you relate to the divine, God or goddess or whatever, however you choose to relate to that. So it was like inner change leading, changing your beliefs and attitudes and everything so that you could actually manifest things, change your world. Then the last decade, external change so that you could profoundly change through metamorphosis. This decade, really getting in touch with what is significant and using the negativity and the attacking of ego as fertilizer to find your significance. What's truly significant within you. I know from having experienced quite a bit of that at times this year, that when you really do the healing, when you really look at yourself, when you do the inner change, and look at and let that change you externally. How significant that is and how it helps you discover what's truly significant within you and the power that gives you, the sense of foundation, the sense of being secure, no matter how insecure the external circumstances appear. The ability to trust yourself emotionally, whether you've got a defined emotional center or undefined or completely open like mine. To realize how important it is to truly be supported. And then this is the decade where feminine energy can truly blossom. And I'm not talking about feminist energy. I'm talking about where women can discover their power and men can be empowered by the women around them and find the power in their own feminine, which makes their masculine stronger. Not more brutal, not more dominating, but gives them the strength, the power and the strength so they can be vulnerable and gentle, yet powerful and strong for men and women. That's what's so significant. If you don't know your power and what true power really is, you have no idea of what your true significance is. That's my experience. You know, you can make of that whatever you like, but all this craziness going on, it's life. It doesn't excuse the behavior, but it enables you to take that, take responsibility for creating it and turning it into something fantastic. So I'll leave it at that. And let me know what you thought, whether that was helpful, useful, or whether it was just whatever you thought it was. Tell me. And I'll talk to you again soon.